What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Substack Live here in the bowels of One Bills Drive, the media auditorium. We're like around the corner from everybody working hard, typing away. Bills minicamp. Let's draw some sweeping conclusions, Jay.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Well, let's see.
Make a bold declaration or five.
Oh, geez. All right. Well, Josh Allen's back. He's a married man now. We saw that. All right. We saw the ring on the finger to prove all of the rumors to be true. He actually did get married. Sean McDermott confirmed that he was in attendance at the royal wedding. James Cook was here, so that drama can be silenced and put to rest. And said he's going to show up and practice at training camp as we expected because, as he said, I like my money.
I like my money. Quote of the day, quote of minicamp, really.
Quote of minicamp, absolutely. And it's funny, I was walking back over here to the bowels of One Bills Drive, as you said, and talking with another reporter. And I really like players who will just say it like it is.
Yeah.
And James Cook doesn't always have a lot to say. He's not the most illuminating quote. Sometimes you would like him to be a little bit more expansive on things. But the thing that James Cook will do is not bullshit you. Yeah. And will tell you exactly how he's feeling. And I love that about a player, and I love that about James Cook. And as you said, quote of minicamp here so far.
Couldn't have said it better
Mm-hmm.
myself. You know, you could have a player who has a PhD in bullshit, right? In filibustering and just kind of talk in circles and hit you with cliches and all this nonsense. And then you transcribe it and you're like, man, I got 20 minutes of absolutely nothing here. Where James Cook will get you about maybe 20 seconds, if that, after a game. But you're going to get something.
Yeah.
And that's why he's here. He clearly wants a contract. You said it's like case closed. Drama is over. Is that the case, do you think?
It feels like it's.
You got to think he's there for training camp. He's not going to want to get fined then, too.
I mean, he said as much today that he's going to training camp, that he's going to be there, that he wants to help his team win a Super Bowl. I think that's exactly the right approach for James Cook. You think you and I have talked about this before. He doesn't have a lot of negotiating power. It's just the reality of where he is, his contract status. The fact that the Bills can use the franchise tag on him after this year really limits his ability to, what's he going to do? Sit out? It's $50,000 a day at training camp if you hold out. And so, and I think another point that we should make here, and it's an important one, is that this was not a hold in by James Cook. He was out there practicing today. Did he do as much as maybe some of the other running backs? No, but he hasn't been here throughout OTAs. I would expect, though, at training camp that we're going to see him be a pretty full participant and be a guy who is working toward that goal, working toward winning the Bills a Super Bowl. And if he does that, I think he's going to get paid somewhere, whether it's here in Buffalo or somewhere else. I think James Cook is going to earn his money. I think he's done everything right. Now, would the Bills agree with that? Not necessarily. I know that Brandon Beane doesn't love when players are maybe as public about contract negotiations as James Cook has been, but he showed up today on the first day that it was mandatory for him to be here. He did his work, and he talked to the media afterward. He's met all of his responsibilities in my mind.
I thought he had some pretty good answers, too. I mean, like you said, he's not going to bullshit. He did say in so many words, like, if you want to win a Super Bowl, you've got to be here. You've got to be practicing. You got to be a part of everything. So it's not like James Cook is just callous. I need my money. I'm here so I don't get fined. And he's off to the side. Just sitting on the elliptical, texting or reading a book. Like he was out there doing drills, doing teamwork. He was engaged, and they need him. So let's talk about his value to the team. I mean, I really think I get it. 48% of the snaps. What does he give you in pass pro? Third down. He wasn't on the field that last drive at Kansas City. Probably should have been on the field that last drive at Kansas City. I feel like he changes this offense completely. We remember this offense when they had different running backs in there. Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, Frank Gore before that. Mm-hmm. I mean, he elevates things in a way that these other backs have not. Yeah. I mean, how do you quantify that? I mean, he had all the touchdowns. I know that doesn't necessarily carry over season to season. Head nose for the end zone. He can catch the ball. You can play him in the slot. You can move him around. And I just can't get that touchdown out of my head at Kansas City where he is, Michael Jordan space jamming the ball across the end line. He gives this team an explosion and a pop. You're scared of them if you're an opposing coordinator, and they need those players, right? In the everyone eats, mantra philosophy, you still need a star player who puts some fear in the defense. He gives you that. Yeah. To me, that's worth $15 million a year. I don't care what position you are. I just pay him and be done with it. but they are taking the stance because they can.
Yeah.
Bean can.
Right. Yeah, they can, and I think there's a debate to be had about the wisdom of paying a running back. Now, Saquon Barkley would question that, right? And the results that the Eagles had with Saquon Barkley would make you maybe question that. A couple things there. Number one, the individual effort on that touchdown, uh, maybe the best I've seen. Right? It just an unbelievable, remarkable play. I want to talk about that game though. He was their best offensive player. That includes Josh Allen. Bar none. I thought he was their best offensive player. He achieved a level, and if you listen to Sean McDermott talk about, and listen, Sean McDermott and James Cook, I wonder what that relationship at the beginning was, right? I think there were probably some rocky moments. James Cook was pretty quick to get benched at times,
The
right?
Denver Monday night game,
Yeah.
right? He got benched.
He did get benched, right? You know, he fumbles the very first handoff he touches in his career. And, you know, the playing time at the beginning as a rookie wasn't always there for him. I think he has responded to all of those challenges and,
Yeah.
to your point, become a star in this league. A guy that maybe doesn't get quite the recognition that he probably deserves. I think to your, you know, what you said about, you know, the level that he takes this offense. Was it his fault that he wasn't on the field on that final drive in Kansas City? Certainly not. And I think it's a question for Kelly Skipper and a question for Joe Brady. Why don't you have the guy who was your best player in that game not out there? I got a lot of questions for Joe Brady, and let me just go off on a complete tangent. None of them were asked last week, which was very annoying.
You
Because
did. You got a good one in there at the end.
barely, because no one is going to ask about the frickin' AFC Championship games. The first time that we've heard from the,
I hate press conferences, man. It's all performative. I just sit those out and let everybody else kind of shout over each other.
don't let me get started on that, because there's still a million questions for Joe Brady coming out of that game, very specifically that game, in that game alone. Anyway, you were asking about James Cook. Let's get back on topic.
Yeah, I mean,
he's great. He's a really, really good player. Now, when I say that, I understand that the stance of the Bills are taking here too, right? Because I understand you can't pay everyone, and they've just paid a whole bunch of guys this offseason. Understand that running back is viewed, rightly or wrongly, as a replaceable position in the league. And, you know, and again, I'll go back to it. It's an important point, one that should be made more than once. They do have the ability to use the franchise tag. So they are not at imminent risk of losing him next year. If he has a great year, if he scores 15 touchdowns and becomes maybe a little bit more of a 3-down player and proves that, listen, this offense can't function the way we want it without James Cook, well, the Bills still have a way to bring him back next year.
They do. And I get it. Business, football is a business. This is the business that James Cook has chosen to use a Godfather reference. But at the end of the day, like, you can make the numbers work if you're Brandon Beane and the Bills. I'm no capologist, but money is very fungible in pro football. They could figure out a way to push money down the road, cash versus cap argument, all of that. I just think it sends a really good message if you keep paying your own. And frankly, I see that number only going up for James Cook. You know, he still has 4 or 5 really good prime years. You're rewarding one of your own. It sends a good message. You center a lot of your offense around him. I get it. They can do this. Brandon Beane can play hardball. And I love everything that Brandon Beane has really done this offseason, going all in on this defense, the draft picks, the veterans, you know, even with the suspensions. I mean, it's about January for this team. This is that one last order of business that I get. It doesn't have to be an order of business for being in the Bills. I don't have to do this. It's not like James Cook is going to go out there and play worse, you know, but I think supplying a little security, a player that touches the ball as much as he touches the ball, it just makes sense. I don't know. It just feels right to pay him because he's so good.
I get it. But your team pay the players all the time.
I'm very pro player.
You very much are.
Yes.
And, you know, let me ask you this. If James Cook wasn't as public with his contract demands, would this be as big of a story? I really don't think it is. Connor McGovern is a very important player for this team who's going into the final year of his contract. He's Josh Allen's son, right? He, you know, makes the line calls. He moves over. He replaces Mitch Morse. He has a great year. You know, Connor McGovern isn't making any noise about a contract extension.
Oh, you didn't hear what he said after practice?
Well, I got to read it.
Took his helmet. I can't make stuff.
But I guess the point is that, to your point, yes, James Cook is a last remaining piece of business that is an important thing to get done for Brandon Beane, but it isn't the only consideration, right? He's got, he did get a lot of work done with the re-signings, but he does have an offensive line with David Edwards and Connor McGovern, who are going to be free agents after this year. So when you talk about the long-term planning, what's more important? They had the best offensive line they've ever had in front of Josh Allen last year. I'd argue that's more important, right? And so I think Cook and his public approach to a contract extension or desire for a contract extension has become a really big story, but he is still a piece of the puzzle. Yeah, he's a big piece of the puzzle, but he's a piece of the puzzle.
I'll say this too. I sat down with Brandon after the draft, and in so many words, it's at the site, our Q&A there. Basically said he wants to see more out of James Cook. Yeah. Like, can he do this again? Yeah. Can he keep this going? It was a little bit of a subtle challenge. I'm not sure that it sits well with Cook's camp. Mm-hmm. I think they think he has done enough. He should get paid. Mm-hmm. They're unhappy about the situation. But this is where, and it's weird because Brandon Beane, as a general manager, you hear players just love him. They say so many great things about him. Coaches say so many great things about him. And the position is inherently a little crass. You got to make some cold, hard decisions. And this is when it can get a little awkward at times, right? Brandon has kind of professed his love for James. He calls him Jimbo, says how much but you got to make some hard decisions. And this is one of them, right? Maybe a deal gets done before camp. Maybe they figure out a bridge 2-year kind of contract. But maybe not too.
Yeah, right. I mean, the time is not really of the essence here, right? I mean, he's got a full year left. I've said the franchise tag many times, but usually these extensions, if you get it done during training camp before the start of the regular season, like that's pretty good business, right? So I think that's
usually when those deals get done.
Exactly, right. I mean, the fact that they got so many done earlier in this offseason, I think has accelerated the timeline. We're like, whoa, what's taking so long for James Cook? Reality is nothing. Like if they didn't get an extension done with Josh Allen, the biggest player, the MVP of the league, and got that done a few days before camp, you would say, okay, well, that timing makes sense, right? So I think there is still time for both sides here, for Cook, his camp, and for the Bills to come together and maybe, like you said, get, you hear the term bridge deal more frequently in hockey, but maybe that's what we're looking at here, is a 2 or 3 year where he gets some money up front in his pocket, but the Bills are protected against, the threat of injury and wear and tear at that position. And so I think that is a possibility. I don't think that Brandon Beane has to be in a huge hurry here. I can understand why Cook would be in a hurry, right? Because when you play that position, you want to get your money.
He's looking at his brother too. Yeah, Dalvin Cook was on top of the football world.
Yeah,
and he's gone. Like I feel like he just vanished from thin air, right?
Yeah, and
it can end abruptly,
especially at that position. And you mentioned making tough decisions. Listen, Brandon Beane's the guy that cut Jordan Poyer, Tre'Davious White, Mitch Morse, couple other guys all in one day, right? And so he knows all too well about making hard decisions that come with being in that general manager's chair.
Anything else stand out to you here at minicamp? Any high risers? Any stock up, stock down?
Let's give the local guy a shout out. I thought Joe Andreessen looked pretty good. I mean, you saw some of the practice. I mean, he was making plays on the football. He had an interception of Josh Allen. He made another defended a pass in front of Dawson Knox, I believe it was. Andreessen's got an opportunity here he's not going to be a starting linebacker, right? We know that's Milano and Terrell Bernard, but if he could solidify a second string job where he's more than a fun story and more than, a special teams type of a player, a guy who is a sprained ankle away from going into the lineup and making plays, that would be a pretty, a continuation of what's already been an impressive story. I mean, what else? I mean, I don't know. That's it. I mean, I don't know.
I learned long ago, like you cannot draw sweeping conclusions at OTAs and minicamp. I mean, I was just, BSing with one of your coworkers, actually, Lance, on the sideline during practice, and, covering the Green Bay Packers at the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, 2011, 2012. Remember Bob and Spoon kind of like drilling into my head. Like, you can't really read into this because DJ Williams, I think he maybe won the Mackey Award in college. It was a final, unbelievable career at Arkansas, but just a little too short, a little too small to be a starting tight end in the NFL. He'd always look amazing at these practices. Yeah. He's making plays left and right. And we'd write all these stories. Oh, this is DJ Williams time, or, pick your sixth or seventh string wide receiver. And to DJ's credit, I think into training camp, he completely made up a story. Like, this is what's great. If I was a professional football player, I'd probably do this at some point. Like, he just made up a story that he looked so good because he went cow tipping all off season. That's where his strength came from. Cow tipping on the farm, just knocking them over. And everybody wrote their stories. Everybody had fun with it. It was aggregated like crazy.
Yeah.
And I remember Tom saying, he completely made that up. Like, that did not happen. And DJ, he owned it. He's like, oh, no, no. Like a year or two later, I remember asking him, he's like, oh, yeah, I just made that up. That never happened. So we need somebody on the Bills
That
to
is
just
amazing.
make up a story and just put it out and see if everybody runs with it. That would make OTAs and minicamp that much more fun.
That would be.
Joe Andrews would be perfect. He should come up with something here in Buffalo, right?
Yeah.
I ate 50 wings a day. That's why I made that play at OTAs.
He's putting on weight by Keon Coleman, he's bulking up, right? You could see that he's eating 50 Lenovo wings or something, but I don't know. Coleman does look a little bigger. He made it. He made a nice catch today. I mean, again,
Kincaid looked pretty good.
Yeah, Kincaid.
Setting.
I will say I talked to Kincaid a couple weeks ago, and I found him to be very candid, honestly. And another guy, kind of it falls in that James Cook category of first couple of years, not a ton to say from Dalton Kincaid in terms of elaborate quotes, right? He was not a guy that you would really go to fill up your notebook in our chosen profession, but I thought he really owned, what was an uneven second season, was pretty honest, forthcoming about the injuries and, the impact that it had on him. Again, it's all talk, but that's what May and June is for, right? We'll see in July, August, and obviously in September when the games start to matter if Dalton Kincaid can take that step forward that he needs to, that the Bills need him to. But everything that we've heard about him, and it seems like is kind of checked out in terms of the work that he's put in this offseason, basically stayed here in Buffalo, hasn't gone to Monaco and hasn't gone to, Miami or anything like that. So it does sound like he's taking this seriously and knows that he needs to take a jump in his third year.
Great insight right there from Jay Skurski. Make sure you do yourself a favor, go to buffalonews.com, subscribe, read Jay's stuff. I've got a story on Darrington Evans live at the site. Really interesting. Didn't know what to expect out of this journeyman running back on his 10th stop, but he kind of explained everything that goes into that, his father's death a year ago and how that kind of affected him. But we'll be here tomorrow as well for Bill's minicamp.
Absolutely.
Bringing you the goods. We'll see if James Cook is in the house. I would think he would stick around, right?
I would imagine.
$17,000.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, exactly.
$17,000 for these practices, right? 50 for training.
Yeah, and it's incrementally goes up in minicamp. If you miss, each one, it goes up each day. Training camp, though, to your point, $50,000 a day. And I love that quote. Right, we'll end with that. Right, I like my money.
I like my money. Thanks for hanging out, everyone. We'll catch you next time.